If you have an old house, you may think your windows are a problem. But I'm here to argue that historic windows are amongst the most valuable features of an old house. So bear me out here. What we're looking at here is a 2/2 double hung window. It's called 2/2 because there's 2 panes of glass on the top sash, 2 panes of glass on the bottom sash. This is a significant feature of Victorian era houses from the 1870s to about 1910. So anybody who's passing by the front who knows anything about old houses, besides the turned columns and the scalloped shingles, they will see the 2/2 windows and they'll know that's a Victorian house. Another wonderful feature about old windows, including this one, is the wavy glass. And if you can see, depending on how you're looking through it, if you look at the wires in the background, you'll see they kind of wave because the glass has imperfections. And that varies from the age of the window. So a lot of people think these windows are a problem because sometimes they don't work very well. They're sticky, or they don't move at all, or they think they're drafty and they're awake at 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody comes on with a window replacement company and says how much you can save if you replace your windows. I'm here to say that is not true. These windows can operate terrifically if you maintain them correctly, and they can be sealed up so that they are as energy efficient as any modern window. So as an example, this is a window that has been maintained properly. That's all it takes to go up and down. So we're going to show you how we maintain a window. Okay, so we just looked at a good old, antique window that's been well maintained and operates flawlessly. Here's a bad window. This is what if you're thinking of replacing your window, this is probably why, because this window has not been maintained. It's been painted on the outside a few times, so it doesn't operate very well. So in order to move it up and down, you have to fight with it. You know, it wants to catch, doesn't want to move. So every time somebody has to open a window, they say, you know that guy that wants to sell me those vinyl replacement windows? I might just give him a call. So I'm gonna ask you not to call them just right away. Let me explain to you how easy it is to tune up an old window. A window like this so that it operates as smoothly as the one we just looked at. Hate this window. Okay, so if your window doesn't move at all, or if it moves haltingly like the one we just showed, it's probably because it's painted shut or there's paint in the way. So if it doesn't move at all you need to do is basically cut through the paint. One thing I want to point out regarding old houses, it's very possible that there's lead paint on the window. So you want to be careful about creating dust. The easiest way to prevent dust from releasing lead dust is just to mist it down with water. So before I free up an old window, I basically spray a little bit of water on there and then try to cut it with a knife. Okay, and maybe we can see it better from this side. But essentially just a quick spritz and then just very carefully. And you want to do this with a sharp knife, and you want to cut very gently. You don't want to push too hard so that it skates away at you. Some windows have not moved for 50 years, and if that's the case, the knife's not going to do it. So what you want to use is a window saw. I mean, this is specially made. You can get this, I think, in any paint store, but it's specifically designed to cut through the paint between the window stop and the sash. So basically, it has a little knife blade on the top. You insert it in the top, and then you just saw your way down. And just like a saw, you take a few passes, both sides, and then, with any luck, your window will be free. Now this window is in good shape, so I'm just using this as a demo. But once you have cut that free, the window will move, but it'll move like the window we just showed you. It's going to be halting. The reason it's halting is because even though you freed it up, there's going to be a lot of excess paint that's built up on the inside. So the next step is you have to scrape away that. So I have a variety of paint scrapers that I use for this kind of work. So what you want, you're going to be scraping on the inside of the stop. So you want a thin paint scraper. This Hyde one you can get in any paint store. These are specially designed, a little harder to find, but they're made of carbide so they last forever. So that was an investment I made, but I think most homeowners will be just fine with one of these. So I would do this from the inside, but since we're outside, spray it down a little bit and then scrape away. And you can feel, even here you can see a little bit of paint being pulled up. If this was a window that hadn't been touched, you'd be pulling up a lot of paint. So the inside of the stop is in good shape, so it doesn't need to be scraped. But if the window hasn't been maintained properly, you'd have to do both sides. Then you clean it all up. There may be paint on the running surface of the channel. This should never, none of this should ever have been painted. So if you're restoring a window and you're repainting, don't put any paint on the surfaces that touch the window. Leave that unpainted, and that will ensure the window operates freely. Paint is sticky, and you don't want it. You don't want it sticky. You want this to glide. So what I do in order to give this a very smooth gliding surface is I rub the inside with paraffin wax. I mean, this is just a small piece of the stuff that you could get in the grocery store for canning in a big chunk for like $2 or something. This will last forever. This is all I have left from this one piece because I use it all the time. But essentially, you want to rub it against both stops and then the inside. So this one I've actually worn down so that it's thin here, so both sides will cover the stops, and then the inside will put a good layer of wax on the channel itself. So do both sides, and then you'll find just by doing that, just by removing the paint and waxing the channels that the window runs through, you may find the window operates perfectly at that point. But a lot of windows need even more maintenance or minor repairs than that. So we're going to go inside and we're going to show what else you can do, other steps you can do to make your windows work smoothly. Okay, so just a reminder, if you want to wax the entire channel that the window runs in. So that's all the way from the bottom to the top, and you want to just move the cord out of the way and get waxed the whole way on both sides. And in many cases, that's all you need to make the window move. If you find that the pulley is squealing or is halty, then what it needs is just a little bit of lubrication. So you just any kind of spray lubrication. It's better if you have one with a straw in it, and just aim it to the inside, spray a little in there, and then just move that window back up and down. That might be all you need to turn a window that you hate into a window that you absolutely love and would never consider replacing. However, some windows need more work. A 100-year-old window, you may have cracked window panes that need to be repaired. It's a lot easier to do that if you take the window out, take it down to a workbench and work on it there. It may need repairs. It may need to be sealed up so that it's not so drafty. So in all of those cases, what you need to do is remove the sash. So we're going to show you how to take a sash out. Okay, in order to remove a window sash, all you need to do is take out one of the stops. So there's two stops on either side. Normally, if this is an old window, it's going to be nailed in place, and you're going to need to take your knife, cut through the paint line here, and pry it off carefully with a pry bar. Whenever I put mine back together, I use screws rather than nails because it makes it easier to make adjustments in the future. So this one is fairly easy to remove. Basically, I just have 3 screws, and I actually put the screws, when you put them back together, one at the bottom which we're taking out right now. One in the middle, right against where the two window sashes come together, because that's the one place you want to hold it tight. Every place else you want it a little bit loose, so that the window can glide without binding. And then one close to the top. And I just leave the screws in place so that I don't lose them. Otherwise, I always lose them. Okay, so that's it. This one's ready to come out. So just kind of spring it out carefully, set it aside, and pull the window up, and then it'll come right out. And all you need to do is disconnect the sash cords. I don't like the window weights to drop, so what I do is I put a little clamp right here. And when you take the weight out, I don't know if you can see this, sometimes there's a nail or a screw holding the cord in place. Oftentimes it's just fitted into the slot. So once that's loose, once the first one's loose, the hard work is done. Okay, with the window out, this is a good time to check the condition of the sash cords. These tend to deteriorate over time. So if it's frayed, if it's coated with paint, or if it's missing, you may find they have broken and you need to put in a new cord. The good news is, even if the cord is missing, the weight will be in the sash box. So you need to access the weight in order to make that repair. To reattach the cord to the weight, you access the weight by removing a door that's in the bottom of the frame. It's held in place with two screws. Back out the screws, and then you just need to pry that door out. Just like that. Sometimes it's a little bit tight, and this one actually needs a little bit of repair and some glue to reattach that, but that's easy to do. And here, when I take this out, you can see the weight. So I'm going to clamp that back there. So if the cord had been broken, what I would do is what I normally do is I tie a weight to the end of a new piece of rope, like a sinker from fishing, and I push that down, drop it down to here, take the sinker off, and then I tie the cord to the weight. And basically the cord is up here. Try to make it the same length as the other one, tie a little knot in the end, and you're ready to reattach that when the window is ready to be replaced. Remove the sash, make whatever repairs you need, reglaze. Before you put it in, go ahead and use the paraffin wax to also put a layer of wax on the edge that runs against the running channel. Check the side and see if there's any paint that needs to be removed there. So if you get that smooth, everything else is smooth, this window will operate as good or better than any modern window. I don't care what kind of window you're talking about. These were built to last. Hopefully we've made the point that there's no reason to replace a historic window strictly from an operational point of view. These windows, if properly maintained, will operate as well as any modern window and will last for another century. But what's the other reason to replace a window? What is that guy at 2 o'clock in the morning telling you? He says, give me $10,000 or $15,000 and you will save a fortune on your energy bills. Truth is, the payback on window replacement is about 30 years, so you will never get your money back in terms of energy efficiency. Here's what I do to make an old window. This is what I recommend. First thing you do, storm windows. You can get, these are basic, inexpensive triple track storms. You can get them to match the color of your house, so they're almost invisible. You can also get storm windows on the inside that you put on in the winter, take off in the summer, so that all you see from the outside is these beautiful windows. Start with storm windows. the next thing you can do is you can weather strip the sashes themselves. You can add weather stripping to a double hung window. My preferred way to do it is I use a router bit, a self-piloted router bit, and I cut a groove in the faces and the bottom of the door. So this is the meeting rail, basically, with a router. And this router bit is actually made to do this. You basically just cut a groove, and you put the appropriate size and color weather stripping right into that groove. You have to size it to the right size. Do the same thing in the bottom of the window where it meets the sill. Cut a groove in the face. Put a thing here. In this case, normally I would use a brown weather stripping to be less invisible, but I think I must have run out of brown, which is why we have this white at the bottom. It happens. The face is a bit more of a challenge because you don't have quite as much room, and you also have friction. So what they make is what's called a cut pile plastic weather stripping that fits into the same kind of groove, use the same tool, and this is able to run up and down against the stops without tearing. If we had tried to put one of these silicone beads in it, it would abrade very quickly. So this is work. I mean, this is work. If you're handy with a router, it's not hard to do. And there's a company in Baltimore that manufactures all of these products, and we will give you that a link at the end of this video. It's not expensive, but the biggest bang for your buck is going to be storm windows, either inside or outside.